Would you benefit from an additional income stream that didn't require the direct exchange of time for money? There are 3 reasons why real estate surpasses any other form of investment. Number 1 is cash flow. After having acquired the asset, it generates income and has expenses to pay for. Expenses such as taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, the loan that was put on the deal, the debt acquired. After having paid for all of those expenses, there should be, if it's a viable investment, cash flow at the end to distribute to you and your investors. Number 2 is tax advantages. All the expenses I previously mentioned, the insurance, the tax, all of those get deducted from the income generated, along with the overhead expenses such as professional fees, phone, car, gas, software, payroll, business outings, anything that relates directly to you performing on the asset or the business itself, which significantly lowers the amount at which is taxed for your tax bill. So there are additional money saved in that way. Number 3 are partnerships. The bank will happily partner with you on a deal after having reviewed its profitability. The bank will put most of its money on a real estate deal. The recommended amount to put down on a real estate deal is 30% of the purchase price. There are also the passive investors and the active investors. The active investor is the sponsor, the one putting everything together, most likely handling the day-to-day operations, while the passive investor gets a recap at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter of how the investment is performing and along with your check. If properly selected, the real estate will appreciate over time. However, the bank is only fixed to that loan amount. The passive investor coincides with the active investors, if not surpasses it, because the active investor, the sponsor, has a fiduciary duty to take care of the passive investor and their capital. Meaning their interests first, they get paid first, and they get their money back faster than everyone else. So in order to properly select a market in which you will search for real estate deals, you have to ask a couple questions to learn about the consumer base. Where are people moving out of and why? And where are they moving into? What is it about the location that they're moving out of that has become unattractive and the one that they're moving into that has caused a high influx of demand? What are the major employers and their stability? Now that's important because in order for you to pay rent, you have to have a job. And in order for you to have a job, the business that you work for, the company that you work for should be thriving and growing and hiring more and more people instead of contracting and firing people. Also, what is the unemployment rate in the market? How many people are unemployed? What is the median income in order to know what the rent to income ratio is and what is considered affordable in that area for the majority of people? What has been recently constructed in the area and what's the demand for those newly built apartments? And what is the acquisition price, the income it can generate, and the expense on a per unit basis? Is there a high barrier to entry for home ownership, or is renting and home ownership really close in price points? That's important because the higher barrier to entry to home ownership, the population will be limited to renting. It's also important to think as if you are moving into the area. What are the crime rates? Families want to know, are there good schools in the area? What's the liveliness of the neighborhood and its culture? These are just some questions so you can know who you are catering to and what the demand is in order for you to supply it. After having asked these questions for several markets, I have selected Miami-Dade and Broward County for further analysis. Next week, I'll be going over how to put earned income into good debt that could produce cash flow and a monthly return that can in turn pay for your expenses. Think about what that means for you and your family. What could you do if your expenses were covered? Would you retire, work somewhere else, with someone else, or even on your own? Anyone can make this happen, but you can't invest in something you don't understand. I personally have been immersing myself and educating on the subject in the past 2 years. And now that I am a financial analyst with Marcus & Millichap, I feel better equipped to start executing on my knowledge. I'll be posting once a week to help people like you and I maximize our happiness and live passionately without financial concerns. Also, business owners who would benefit from an additional income stream without having to exchange your time for money. So if that is of interest to you, subscribe below and stay tuned for tons of success.